Hi everybody, my name is Lucie Maycock and I am a community artist, and during this tutorial video we are going to be looking at how to make some fabulous surprise watercolour Easter egg art. So the materials that you're going to need are a white wax crayon or oil pastel, some scissors, paintbrush or a few paintbrushes, some water, some watercolours. I've got quite a large set, but I use watercolours quite a lot. It doesn't matter, a little small set is fine. And I also have some trusty kitchen roll for when I'm using watercolours, in case my brush gets too wet. And you're going to need some paper. So the paper that you're going to need is thick cartridge paper or card. And what that means is that when you get the paper wet, it won't crinkle too much. If you use really thin copier paper that you'd use in your printer at home, what will happen when you use watercolours? It will crinkle. Now, if that's the only paper that you have, then use that by all means, but the thicker the better. So we're looking to create something like this. So we've got a few examples of some different funky Easter eggs, all painted and decorated in different ways. So on the website you can download a template. You can either do it kind of A4 or A5 size, it's completely up to you. I've done a selection. So the first thing you need to do, clear a space. You're going to need to get your template and draw around it on your paper. So I'm going to cut mine out at the very end. If you'd like to cut them out before, you can, but I like to paint and then cut them out. So I'm going to arrange the eggs on the paper. So I'm going to do the big one, fit as many on as we can. So hold it down and draw around the edge. And then we'll do a couple of little ones as well. So the next thing you're going to need to do is get your white oil pastel or wax crayon, and you're going to draw some shapes on this. So it's going to be difficult for you to see what I'm drawing, so I'm just going to do a really quick example of the types of shapes and things that you can draw. And I'm going to do this on a separate piece of paper. So just so you guys can see, because you won't be able to see when you draw with the wax crayon or the oil pastel. So I'll use a black pen, and I'm going to do, first on this one, I'm going to do some curved lines. A little bit like the funky Easter bunny, this one, which is a workshop that I've also done. And then I'm going to do some zigzags, some circles or some ovals, some lines. And draw around the egg again for you so you can see it all. Just doing this in black now to show you. Please don't do it in black pen. So I've done one. It's kind of got lots of different shapes on. And the other one, I'm actually going to keep quite simple. Oops. I'm just going to do some circles like this. So here are two ideas what you can do designs with your wax crayons. Do whatever you want, just experiment and play about and have fun. So now we need to actually do the picture, the drawings onto the paper. Now it's quite tricky because you can't really see that well what you're drawing. So, but this is why I like to cut it out afterwards, because it doesn't matter then. So on this one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do lines going across and do a zigzag. You can kind of see if it catches the light where your marks are. Some circles. It means you can't be that accurate, but it doesn't really matter. It's all just about enjoying the process and having fun. This is the bit that makes the magic happen. So I'm going to do different ones onto the other ones. I'm going to do some lines going down, and you'll be able to see them perfectly once we've painted them. And then this one we're just going to do spots. Right, brilliant. So now we're going to put the watercolour on. So you can have a play around with this. I'm going to dip my brush into the water, and then I'm going to choose red first. So the more water, the more paint that you put on your brush, the darker the colour will be on your picture. And I'm just going to do stripes going down. But you can see as I'm doing the stripes, really cool pattern starts to emerge. I'm going to come down this side as well. So the more water you add, the lighter the colour will be. And the drier your brush, the darker the colour, the more paint. Let's move this across so you can see it. And I'm going to go in with an orange. And we're going to go next to red. Apologise if you can hear the scratching. My cat has decided that just right now is the time that she's going to be the nuisance, as cats always do. So make sure you go right up to the edges. I'm going to wash my brush out, and then I'm going to swap colours, and I'm going to go in with some yellow. If you wanted to, you could try and blend the colours together. I'm going to keep them quite separate for this bit. So 2 stripes of yellow. And then I'm going to go in with a darker red down the centre. So as you can see, as I'm painting, you can see the really cool patterns start to emerge. Fab. So you can see my Easter egg is starting to take shape. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a slightly thinner brush and I'm going to use the same colours, but I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more paint. I'm just going to add what I like to call a squiggle, a few squiggles here and there. More orange, and all this does is it makes some of the areas a little bit darker with the colour and some a bit lighter. Just adds a little bit more interest. Going with the yellow, lots of yellow, make it really vibrant. You can see here some of the colours start to blend a little bit, but that looks great, so we'll leave that. And then some darker red down the centre. Fab, so that's one Easter egg done. So we need to leave that to dry. So while that's drying, we're going to move on and do the smaller two here. So you can work on the same sheet of paper like I'm doing, or you can do different sheets of paper, it's up to you. So this one, I'm going to use greens and blues for this one, and I'm going to do some squiggles going across the paper. So squiggles. As you paint, the magic appears and you see the pattern underneath. And then get some blue, go in underneath. If you're putting a lot of water on, remember not to pick the piece of paper up off of the table because it'll just drip everywhere. So leave it flat to dry. If you're using a lot of water, I'm just going to change paint brushes because I need a slightly fatter one. So in between the green, painting blue. As you can see, all the pattern is starting to appear. Going right up to the edge so we haven't got any white paper showing through. And the very top. Now I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more colour. So a bit more green. If you use a lot of water, you will start to notice how the colours start to kind of merge together naturally, and that can look really cool. And then a bit more blue. To make the colour a little bit darker. So there's number 2 Easter egg. And then the third one, I'm just going to do some colour blending. So for this you're going to need a really wet paintbrush. And I'm going to use some purples. So I'm just literally put a splodge of colour here. It's like a really nice kind of dark pink. And then we'll go in with some purple. And I'm kind of splodging them together with my brush. Slightly different colour, still a bit pinky. Make sure you lots of water on your brush. And I go in with some more purple. You can dab with your brush, that's always gives a nice effect. And a little bit more pink at the bottom. So all the Easter eggs coated in colour, and then I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more colour to some of the areas. So I'm going in with a much drier brush now with this colour, just dabbing on from my paint into the picture, and the colour will start to spread in the water naturally. There we go, so that's the third one. So now we have to wait for them to dry and then we can cut them out. Right, so our lovely eggs are all nice and dry, as you can see. So now it's time to cut them out. I'm just going to cut around to make them into a smaller area to handle. And really carefully. You can still see the pencil line through the watercolour. Just going to cut around them. Another thing, if you're not happy with what you've got, you could always add some more paint at this stage if you wanted to. Fab. So now we have our wonderful Easter eggs that have got some magic. The magic appears in white. So what you can do is you can do lots of these eggs, and you can punch little holes in the top, and then you can string them up using ribbon or string and make it into a really funky Easter egg garland that you can hang around the house around Easter. So have a play with what you've got, play around with the different patterns with your wax crayon and see what you can find when the magic happens. And please do share what you make.